Welcome to Body Language by Ryan. I'm Ryan, and this is Body Language. Alright, today we're going to be talking about if you can tell if somebody's lying by only reading their body language, right? And short answer is no. You can't tell if somebody is lying just by using body language. Body language isn't that precise. People who are professional lie detectors, let's say a police interrogator and an investigator, right? They use reading body language as one part of a tool to determine if somebody's lying, but it's only one part of a tool. They use the nonverbal body language, nonverbal communication, verbal communication, context, and strategy. Body language is only a part here and plays off of the other parts. Police investigator, interrogator, they could not determine if somebody is likely lying if they only were allowed to use body language. It's sort of like a slingshot, and body language maybe would be the rubber band in the slingshot. Sure, it's a piece of it, but without the little Y and the pellet to shoot, it's useless for what it's intended for. So no, you cannot use body language to determine specifically if somebody is lying with any degree of accuracy. However, you can use body language to know if somebody feels comfortable or uncomfortable with something you're saying. If there's something you're digging at, if there's a lie that you think might be in the conversation, you can ask questions around it and gauge the response, both verbal and nonverbal responses, to look for lies. And it may not be a lie. For example, you and a friend go to another friend's house to a party, right? And the friend you come with decides to, steal something like a watch off a dresser, right? And you've got some moral issues with this, but you don't say anything at the time. Now, an hour goes by, and the host of the party comes and asks you directly, "Did you steal my watch?" What are you going to do? You're probably, unless you're a really good liar, you're probably going to freak out a little bit. If not verbally, then non-verbally. Your nostrils might flare, you might have evasive behavior, or you might freeze up. It depends on your reaction. But you'll probably display these warning flags that people will tell you are indicators that you're lying. Technically, you're telling the truth. You did not steal the watch in this scenario. But because you were uncomfortable talking about it, you let off the warning signs. You let off a lot of the flags that people would say, "Oh, no, you're lying." So you're probably curious, even if you can't tell definitely if somebody is lying, what are some of the cues to know if somebody is maybe lying or at least uncomfortable with this line of conversation? And if they're uncomfortable with this line of conversation, you can talk to them a little bit more and maybe dig into the truth. And this is what the professionals do on a much more sophisticated level, right? So some of the signs that somebody is maybe being either deceptive or uncomfortable with a line of conversation, well, there's depending on different people's reactions, there will be different signs. Some of them to look for would be a tensing of muscles. And that's a little bit hard, but if someone stiffens up a little bit, that's there. Additionally, a small one would be nostril flare. That kind of goes hand in hand with the stiffening of the muscles. It's because they're going to be reacting to your question, right? And reactions all fall back to, on some level, to your primal animal brain, where you have, the three responses: the fight, flight, or freeze response. A lot of people don't know or talk about the freeze response. So when you surprise somebody with a question, you might notice a freeze response. Doesn't mean they're lying per se, but it means you caught them off guard. They're uncomfortable with this. They feel maybe a little bit threatened. Then you might notice some flighty behavior, flickering of the eyes, shiftiness. These are all pretty obvious, high-level ones. Shifty behavior, shifting back and forth. Hands in the pockets, especially with the thumbs in. If the thumbs are in the pockets, that's a good sign of insecurity. And if they weren't standing with their thumbs in their pockets before you asked a question, or even hands in the pockets, thumbs out is still a little bit of a sign of insecurity. If when you ask the question they withdraw in some way, that can mean that they are uncomfortable with what you're asking. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're lying. They may or may not have stole your watch, but if they become uncomfortable, odds are they know something about your watch, right? Even if they didn't steal it. And it may not be your watch. You might have stolen somebody else's watch, but the fact that a watch got brought up in a stolen context made them a little bit weird. And that's how you could ask more questions and interrogate to dig further. But it's not going to be some obvious, did you steal my watch? And then like their eyeball twitches or something and you're like, oh, you're lying to me. No, that's not how it works. It's much more of an art, and even the best interrogators in real life have to work at it systematically. There's tricks and tips you can use to pull out more deceptive or uncomfortable strings of body language and piece them together to formulate a lie. And I think most people really the heart of this conversation is, if someone's talking to you in casual conversation, blah, 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 you're talking back and forth, how can you tell if they start lying to you, right? Because the root of it is nobody wants to be deceived. It's just not pleasant, right? If I'm having a conversation with somebody, I'd like to be able to tell if they say something to me, if it's a lie. Or even maybe a big stretch of the truth. And unfortunately, it's not as clean as that. You just don't get that answer. You can tell by talking to somebody if maybe they say something that they're uncomfortable with. And that's really the best you can get. You can then maybe steer the direction towards what they're uncomfortable with to dig deeper and maybe uncover something that's likely a lie. You won't know for sure, but likely a lie if you steer the conversation that way. But no, there's no big tells. All right, that's all we got time for today. Check back soon for a new video, and thanks for watching.